Hey internet, you're watching this video because you search what's the specs for Wuthering Waves. So the information's taken from the Wuthering Waves Reddit official and also the official website as well. So here's the specs for closed beta 1 on Reddit, and I've compiled it on Word document and we'll compare it shortly. So here's the specs for closed beta 2. So the information is accurate up to closed beta 2. However, when it does release, I'm sure the specs will be a little bit higher. So here is the comparison. I'm a PC user, so I'm more familiar with PC. I'm not too familiar with the mobile scene. So for PC, they are running the absolute bare minimum Windows 7 64-bit. I'm pretty sure Windows 7 is almost extinct, but anyways, i5 bare minimum and 1000 series graphics card for the Nvidia and 16 gig RAM with 40 gig storage. For the closed beta test 2, they've got the same bare bones requirements. For their recommended, they're saying Windows 10 64-bit and i7, or do they say nope? They still recommend an i7. So from an i5 to i7, okay, that's what they recommend. And they're saying a 2000 series Nvidia graphics card and 16 gig RAM. Alright, so to future-proof you guys, I would recommend this. I would say for your operating system, have Windows 10 or 11, doesn't matter too much. Depending when they release it, Windows 12 will be out. Do not upgrade to Windows 12 because, one, you don't know if Wuthering Waves is able to support Windows 12. Secondly, since Windows 12 is a new operating system, there's going to be bugs and issues. So I wouldn't go for Windows 12. Stick with Windows 10 or 11. I would recommend Intel i9. So that's your CPU. And it's only like a little bit higher than the bare minimum, but it does future-proof your PC. I'm not saying that you should buy a completely new PC just to play this game, but I'm just recommending that if you're planning to buy a PC and you're short on cash, this is what I'm recommending. For your graphics card, I think 2000 series is fine. Maybe go for a 2090, just on the upper end of the 2000 series. Having a 3000 series is probably better. So a 3060 Nvidia graphics card would be good. 3080 or 3090 would be great. So if you have unlimited money, then obviously buy the best stuff. So the latest generation of everything, of course. We haven't talked about RAM. I guess I would say 32 gigabytes of RAM would be fine. So 16 gigs for the game itself, and then another 16 gig for your operating system. 64, I think it's a little bit overkill. I mean, 64 gigs of RAM usually is for PCs that are really high compute. So if you're running simulations like for engineering, or like you're doing AI, a lot of calculations, then 64 gig RAM or higher. So anything that's required like super computations, then you would need a lot of RAM. But if you're just playing a video game, I would say 32 is pretty much good to go. 16 is your bare minimum, to be honest. I think nowadays 16 gig RAM is like your bare minimum. 32 is probably the upper standard. 64 varies. It depends on what like calculations you're running. Alright, in terms of storage, so have your, I'm pretty sure hard drives are extinct now, but I'm not too sure, but I still recommend solid state drives because they load faster and they just last longer than your hard drives. I would recommend, I would say 80 gigs to be honest, with all the updates. I mean, that's a little bit of a push. They're saying 40 gigs, I would double that. Like 80 gigs, maybe 120 gigs. I mean, solid state drives are pretty cheap nowadays. So 120 gig solid state drive. I mean, most solid state drives or SSDs go in like terabytes anyway, so 2 terabytes. So I think 1 TB if you short on cash, or even 500 gigabytes. But 500 gigabytes is probably running like the bare minimum. So aim for 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes. I mean, they're not that expensive. I think they're probably like around about $500 to $800 depending where you are in the world. So that would be New Zealand dollars from my point of view. So if you're in the US, it's probably a lot cheaper in the US. However, I'm sure if you bought it online, it's probably a lot cheaper anyways. So those are my recommendations. Windows 10 or 11 and Intel i9 just to be above the minimum. 2000 series is fine, 3000 is better. And have 32 gigs of RAM, have 80 gigs of storage for your SSD minimum. And that will be future proof enough for your game for Wuthering Waves. So if you're looking for bare minimum specs, here it is. If you want something a little bit better, then even their recommendations is probably on the lower side. And I would just recommend just like one step up from what they recommend, so you won't get caught out when they do updates and stuff. Thanks for watching. Hope you had a great day. Be sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends, ring the bell, turn on all notifications, become a member if you want to, drop a super thanks if you want to. Until next time, see ya.